Welcome to the pre-recorded edition of Connect with Alumni Award recipient Kelly Nuckolls. My name is Cindy Landis, and I am the Instruction and Outreach Librarian at FHSU's Forsyth Library. This year at Homecoming, an Alumni Award recipient's meet and greet is taking place on campus on Friday, September 29th from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. Kelly won't be able to join us on campus, so we wanted to take some time to get to know her and her story. The goal of this conversation is to shine a light on her path from FHSU to where she is today, and give students, both on campus and online, some inspiration of where their college experiences could take them. So welcome, Kelly. Can you tell us a little bit about your time here at Fort Hays? What was your major and what led you to Fort Hays to begin with?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for having me. I was looking at colleges while in high school and really wanted a place where I could get involved and make an impact in my community. And I met with Dr. Shayla Mills while touring Fort Hays State University, and she really encouraged me to attend because there are just so many opportunities at a school the size of Fort Hays to get involved, whether it's a student organization or something in the Hays community. There's so many options compared to maybe a larger school where you wouldn't have as many opportunities. So that led me to Fort Hays. I always wanted to major in something related to pre-law, so I chose political science so I could emphasize in pre-law, and kind of shifted my career path from my law interest a little bit, but still stuck to that path while at Fort Hays and beyond. And yeah, that's why I chose to go to Fort Hays, is really just the opportunities that you have as a student.
Can you tell me some of the things that you were most involved with while you were a student?
Yeah, I was involved in a lot of different opportunities, which was really fun, and it gives you an opportunity to make friends too. So I joined Up Till Dawn, which helps raise funds for St. Jude's. And I was on the board for that for a few years and really enjoyed that. That's kind of what piqued my interest in getting involved in more student organizations. I also started working in the Center for Civic Leadership on campus while I was at Fort Hays, and was given a bunch of opportunities to host different student engagement events on campus. And I also was involved in Model United Nations, which was a really great experience through the political science and leadership departments on campus, where we traveled to St. Louis and competed in a mock United Nations meeting against other schools. And I really enjoyed that. You also had an opportunity to write an essay related to your country's position on a topic, and I actually ended up winning an award. And it just really encouraged me to kind of pursue the policy avenue a little bit more than just a straight up legal practice career. And so those types of opportunities, including like Student Government Association, really encouraged me to pursue something that's maybe a little bit different than your traditional legal path.
So you said you were involved with the Center for Civic Leadership. Can you talk a little bit about some of the projects you did relating to that?
Yeah, I think both projects that I worked on really piqued my interest in pursuing a career in more like civic and political engagement. But I started out working with the Global Leadership Project, and that really sparked my interest in food insecurity, not just globally, but also in our local Hays community, and what projects we could do to address that. We also were trying to provide opportunities for students just to learn more about, the globe and what's going on with policy and civics. And I ended up having the opportunity to take students on a service project to Guatemala, and that was really exciting. And then I kind of tied that, I feel like, with the American Democracy Project. When I worked on that, that's where I really saw the connection between service and policy. And if you really want to implement significant change, you really need to have both tied together. And so whether it was encouraging students to vote, we did a lot of voter registration drives, or just educating students about how you can get engaged and talk to your member of Congress. It was a really great experience for me to be able to see how that policy connection ties in.
I read that you were involved in establishing the Tiger Food Pantry, which was previously known as the Tiger Food Exchange. Can you tell us how that got started?
Yeah, it was kind of a combination of several different people on campus. I had a good friend in the Center for Civic Leadership, Jordan Schmeidler, who was really interested in the project. And he ended up graduating a year before I did. And so the next year, I was talking to Dr. Shayla Mills and was in her food policy class where students conducted a survey across campus of food insecurity that showed some results that we did have an issue on campus and needed something like the Tiger Food Exchange. And then the previous director of the Forsyth Library, John Ross, he was really interested in providing the library as that source. It's a really great area for students to just kind of walk by. That way there's no stigma involved. If you just need a snack or need something, you might already be studying in the library and you can go and grab something. And so John helped with some of the funding behind it, and we set it up right there, kind of near the entrance of the library. I heard it's in the student union now.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
just moved in the last year over to the student union right near the bridge where it goes to the student success building. So,
yeah,
yeah.
that's great. Yeah, and the idea was kind of like where it could just be something where you leave something, take something. I'm guessing the garden, the Victory Garden, is still on campus.
Yeah,
And
was that a part of the origination of the food pantry too?
yeah, so that was also started with a student led by Dr. Shayla Mills, and they really helped provide some fresh items for the food pantry. So it was kind of a nice combination of people on campus. And I was able to do it through my role in the Center for Civic Leadership, help organize it and get it started and get some funding for it. And yeah, it
Cool.
was a really exciting thing. I'm glad to hear it's still going on today.
Yeah. So when was that when all of that was first taking off?
I think it started in 2012, in the fall of 2012.
Okay.
It's been a while now, which is nice.
Yeah. They do Fresh Food Fridays now where the food or the produce from the Victory Garden gets brought over. And sometimes they supplement it with other grocery um, items too. And sometimes they even do combinations like it's Taco Friday and they have little like packets of things to, they've been really creative lately too. It's been fun to see all the different things they do. So that's a great impact. So that was a CCL project too.
Kind of combined with the political science department and the library. So it was a cross-campus effort.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've mentioned Shayla Mills a few times. Were there any other influential people or courses, or do you want to talk any more about just that faculty mentorship with Shayla that kind of made a lasting impact on you?
Yeah, I mean, Shayla was a wonderful mentor, which is also something that's nice about Fort Hays. I feel like you get to know your professors really well, and they're your advisors. So, I mean, Shayla's the reason why I chose to go to law school where I did. And then I also, just the faculty that supported the Center for Civic Leadership were really significant in pushing kind of that engagement side of my career path. Dr. Kurt Brungart and Dr. Christy Brungart, who have since retired, Dr. Brett Whitaker and Dr. Leanne Brown were the ones who actually hired me to run the Global Leadership Project at the start and mentored me through that. And then, yeah, there were other professors across campus that really helped support all the work of the Center for Civic Leadership, which was really impactful.
What was your favorite just Fort Hays memory?
Oh, goodness. Hmm. I feel like there are so many. I think one of my favorite Fort Hays memories is just all of the work we did, both in the Hays community and on campus, around local food insecurity, whether it was starting the pantry. We worked with a lot of area churches and an area food pantry as well. We hosted a fundraiser to support all of those efforts. So really just anything related to that. And then we were able to kind of build upon that and showcase our work at universities fighting world hunger and the Kansas Hunger Dialogues. And we were one of the first schools to even have a food pantry on campus. And now it's kind of the norm, which is really great. So college students usually don't have access to like supplemental nutrition assistance program funds. And so if they are food insecure, there aren't a lot of options for them to go to. So it's nice to see that that kind of started something that was then shared across other campuses as well.
Yeah, that's great. So can you talk a little bit about your path after graduating from Fort Hayes? So you've mentioned law school and some of the things, but can you just elaborate a little bit more of like what were the steps you took after leaving Fort Hayes and what led you to where you are today?
Yeah. So I always wanted to go to law school, and I wanted to do estate planning, nothing related to what I completely ended up doing, but I was planning on going probably to KU. And then kind of after working on all these projects, and I worked with Dr. Shayla Mills to do a grant related project related to Kansas agriculture and food insecurity and policy and history. And I just decided that I wanted to kind of shift career paths a little bit, but I still wanted to go to law school. So I ended up choosing Drake Law School in Des Moines, Iowa, because they have a food and agricultural law certificate program and a legislative and governmental practice certificate program, which really meshed my two interests together. And so I decided to go there and had a great experience. I was able to work for the largest food pantry network in Des Moines as a legal intern, and with the Iowa Food Bank Association lobbying for certain funding topics that they needed help with at the Iowa State Capitol, and had a really great experience interning with Harvard's Food Law and Policy Clinic. So I had the opportunity to engage in a bunch of different policy focused opportunities, which really sparked my interest in eventually going to DC. But I ended up going to the University of Arkansas's LL.M program in agricultural food and food law right after law school, and was able to learn even more about just federal policy in agriculture and food law, and was able to do a graduate assistantship on some really interesting topics. And yeah, so I wasn't done with school quite yet.
Can you talk about your current position too, of just kind of what does that all of that look like now?
Yeah, so I was in DC for the past 5 years before moving here to the Fayetteville, Arkansas area. And so I feel like I learned a lot about how to effectively impact policy in the food and ag space. And so coming here, my goal is to provide students with similar opportunities and to kind of encourage them, similar to the encouragement I received throughout my education, to pursue avenues related to food and agricultural law and policy that will really shift our food system for the better. And so right now, I kind of do a little bit of everything. I help with our program administration. I am running our Food and Ag Impact Project, where students get paid, whether through a graduate assistantship or an internship, to do hands-on projects related to food and agricultural law and policy. And so I supervise that project. And then I also teach a little bit, depending on the semester and what's going on. So yeah, just working with students, it's been a great experience. We have wonderful students here that are really excited about just the changes in our food system and how they can impact them.
Cool. That's great. What would you recommend to current students to make the most of their time at Fort Hays?
I would recommend that you get involved in something that you're most interested in. Again, get to know your professors. They can be an excellent resource for your career path in the future. And don't say no to an opportunity that seems like a really great experience. It may seem overwhelming to get involved with an organization or take on a leadership role, but you won't regret doing those extra opportunities, and it'll really provide you with an opportunity to kind of try out maybe something that could potentially be your future career path.
Well, that's great. Um, well, thank you so much for spending some time with us and letting us record this interview so that more Fort Hays students can be inspired by your story and help make an impact, maybe with policy, maybe with just civic engagement overall is something that Fort Hays is very has a lot of strengths and a lot of opportunities for students to get civically engaged in the size of community in Hays, like you mentioned. So we love to hear examples and experiences like yours so that students can kind of see what else they can do to get involved. So thank you so much, Kelly, and happy homecoming.
Thank you.